we're back again, and in this part of our lesson we're actually going to add quite a bit more detail and shadow to our cupcake painting. And here I am in this part of the video really having a look at where those shadows are. This is what we got up to last time. It's all dried, the salt has been all flicked off, and now we're ready to start adding some darker shadows in around the bottom of the icing. So what I've done is I've actually mixed two different colors on my palette. So a bit of blue and a bit of the dark red that I was using before. And I'm working into the dry page because I really want to stain the page quite a bit darker in some of these areas, but I am using my small brush because I want to get right into those fine little areas. So I have got those little circular dotty motions happening with my brush again because I'm trying to emulate that texture of a cake and the part of the cake which is really porous, and I was hoping that the salt would do that enough, but it didn't. So as with all paintings, you just keep layering and layering until you get it to look the way that you want it to look. Now I'm a bit worried about that bit just there. It looks a little bit dark, so I'm going to make sure I come back in with some of my red that I was using before, that cool red, and start to blend that out a little bit so it's not looking too different in colour or tone to what's around it. Just kind of trying to smudge in the edges of that dark shadow that I just made then with a bit of water on my brush and a bit of the cool red. I'm quite happy with the shadow now that's coming in underneath the icing. Now I'm adding some blue, and I'm going to mix that blue down into those tips of those shadows where the cake actually goes into the paper patty, because a shadow is basically where the light is not getting. So if you think there's a hole in something, then shadow is going to be darker in that hole because the light can't get in there. So any part of your image that is hidden away, like a hole or a cave sort of area, is where it's going to be darker. And in this case, it's underneath the ledge of the icing, and it's also in those little creases that are the inside of the patty cake. And as you come to the round curve of the cake, it's going to get lighter because where the cake is rounded is where the light is hitting it, and therefore it's going to be lighter in that area. You can see I'm doing that little squiggly swirly with my brush. It's a very light, gentle kind of technique. Some of the dots are darker and larger, and some of them are really light, where I'm just kind of really gently skipping over the surface of the page and not even really putting much pressure at all on my brush. I don't want my surface to look completely even. I want it to have variety. I want some areas to be dark and some areas to be light, because that is what the surface of the cake looks like when you look at the source image. And I'm making sure that I've always got my source image with me when I am painting. That way I can keep referring to what I'm trying to emulate, what I'm trying to copy. I'm not doing it from my imagination, I'm doing it from observation. I'm going back into these little areas again now to try and get some more shadow happening in there. shadows and blend them, blending gently into those under layers that I've already done in that cool red. So we're now up to about our third and fourth layer if we think about what we actually started off with. Dabbing it back with my tissue, it's kind of pushing it into the background with the tissue as well. Now I'm coming back with that little speckle over the top. So again, there's all this layering that's happening. Tiny little dots, tiny little swirls, and then I can just blot them back so that they're not so harsh and they're not so precise. Every now and then I'll go back and get some darker colours so that I can start to mix in some darker with the lighter so that you get that variation in tone that suggests there's a bit of a shadow happening around the bottom of the cake. I'm just trying to spread them and blend them with a little bit of water on my brush so that they're not so precise. I don't want it to look like coconut that's been sprinkled on top. I want it to look like holes that are going back into the cake. Remembering that holes are, or those air holes that you get in cake, they're going to be darker because the light is not getting into them as much as the part of the cake that's on the surface.
South Africa. Oh, yeah. No.
I get a really wet brush, and it works best with a stiff brush, not a soft brush, and I really wet it, then I work it up into the paint, and then I just go up very close to the surface of the page and I flick the darker paint over it. Now you have to be careful because it will go in other areas of your drawing, and that can be a bit of a difficulty. So you can see here in this close-up what it actually looks like when it's finished.